Stephanie cleaned the rabbit cage this morning, and they have completely destroyed their little things that hold the hay because they're out. So that's one of the first things I have to do this morning is get some more hay. I want to show you this real quick. It's something I've been working on as weather permitted. But this is my chicken tractor. Everything is a little crazy around here now. The shed isn't quite big enough, and we're just trying to get settled. We've only been here since September. Well, everything was up in the air until about September, and then we got married, and it's just been crazy. So it's in a little bit of a disarray. Where are you going?
I'm heading over to the shed to get some shavings, pine shavings for the bunny litter box. Shoes tied tight, hope I don't get in a fight.
How are you going to get back there?
I have no clue. We use the pine shavings for the bunny litter box, and then we sprinkle a little bit of hay on top of it because they like to eat where they poop.
Last night we watched a funny movie that Stephanie had never seen before. It was called The Gods Must Be Crazy. Okay, what did you think of the movie last night?
It's pretty funny.
What was it about?
What was it about? It was about a bushman who has no knowledge of the city life that most people live, and he finds a Coke bottle that he feels is cursed because it brings anger and conflict into his village.
Today we're going to talk about material capital, and it's funny that we watched that movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy. You know, it starts off with this bushman, like Stephanie was saying, where he's never had any contact with the outside world, and you know, they make use of everything in their environment, but there's no scarcity. And so he's walking along, and this guy is flying a plane overhead. Of course, they don't know what a plane is. And the guy drops a Coke bottle out of the window. I mean, it was the early 80s, so, you know, everybody littered, right? Well, this Coke bottle falls right in front of the guy, and, you know, he's looking at this thing. He's never seen anything like it before in his life. And so he brings it back to his village, and, you know, they're all fascinated by it, and they start coming up with ways to use it as a tool. It doesn't take long before they start fighting over this thing. So it dawned on me what really happens is they start playing a new game, and that new game is me first. So in our culture, we have all kinds of material capital. And if you start trying to list out all your material capital, it becomes a pretty difficult task. It's your house, you know, forks, spoons, all the cooking utensils, they're useful. Couch, it gives us a place, it's a tool for rest. Even decorations, you know, the men are going, yeah, well, but my wife has all these knickknacks, and they're not tools. Well, yeah, they are. They're tools for making a home, you know, cozy, if you will. So everything's a tool. But we have a relationship with our material capital. We identify with it. You know, I used to drive the BMW, and did I say BMW? It was like it was part of my identity. It broadcasts to the world what I want them to know my status is. And if you think about it, that goes into a lot of decisions that we make. So material capital are those things in the quote real world that are tangible, and they could be anything from, you know, raw materials like, you know, iron ore, logs that have been cut down, to things that have been complexed from those raw materials like I-beams to build a building, or lumber that's cut from the wood. We go from simple materials to complex materials until you end up having tools that create other tools, and you have computers that can think for themselves.
I brought you the rabbit droppings and the coffee that I collected from work.
Again, we're talking about the 8 forms of capital or wealth that people have to thrive. Financial capital, material capital, living capital, intellectual capital, experiential capital, social capital, spiritual capital, and cultural capital. You gotta have all of those forms of capital in order to thrive. What drives us to complex material? It has something to do with the game that we're playing. And I think for the most part, well, actually I think if you get right down to it, we always play a game of me first. Even if we're trying to play a game of you first. Because it seems to me that we live in a civilization that has more time-saving devices. You know, we got a gadget for everything. We got gadgets that'll turn our light switches on for us. And yet, as a culture, we don't have enough time. And as a culture, we don't have enough stuff. We always need more. So that's not very efficient if you think about it. And it has something to do with playing the game me first. We have all this material wealth, and yet we're more stressed, and we're unhappy, and we're not thriving. So clearly, just having material wealth isn't the definition of thriving. You gotta have all 8. Oh, I had a honeybee fly by. What I'm doing here is I took some materials. You know, I'm taking those wood chips, I'm taking the grass and the other greens that we took from the land, and coffee grounds, the rabbit manure and the hay from that, and water mixed with air. I'm keeping the air mixed in there. What I'm doing is speeding the decomposition process, which is very powerful, because when that process is finished, there will be rich, nutrient-dense soil for plants to begin the process over again. You know, they'll take that raw stuff and complex it into something higher, because they're playing a game of me first as well. Analogies can lead to new levels of understanding, but they can also lead to information loss. So we have to have eyes to see and ears to hear. In order to create compost or soil as fast as possible, you have to keep the materials in the compost involved in transactions and interactions so that they can break down quickly.